Hello, everyone. Good morning for those of you in North and South America. Good afternoon if you're in Europe or the Middle East. And of course, good evening for those further east, especially our brothers and sisters in Armenia. I'm Sarkis Jabedjian, the Secretary of the AGBU Central Board of Directors and your Master of Ceremonies for this, our 91st General Assembly. Today, I have the true honor of welcoming to this General Assembly in our 115th year of the AGBU, our delegates, our benefactors, friends, honored guests, and most important, our membership worldwide, who are really the backbone of our organization. We also, of course, are joined by the members of our central board, who I think you can see on screen. I think the short video we just watched together says it all. In unity is strength. And even though for the first time in our history, we're not having our General Assembly in person in one of our great communities like Paris, Aleppo, or Buenos Aires, we are really very encouraged today by the amazing turnout. And we have participants from, I think, almost or maybe even now over 30 countries, in the West, all the way from Los Angeles, in the East. I was going to say all the way to Thailand, but a few minutes ago, we just had someone from Korea log on. So I think we really are spanning the world. Just a few logistical things. Today's General Assembly is being translated live into four languages. And if you want to pick a language other than English, you can click on the icon near the bottom right of your screen that says interpretation. Secondly, we are recording today's session for archival purposes. And accordingly, we'd ask that people not make personal recordings of this meeting. As mandated by the AGBU bylaws, the General Assembly is our highest legislative body, and we meet every 2 years. Since, like I said, due to the pandemic, we're unable to meet in person for our usual 3 or 4 days of meetings, workshops, brainstorming, and of course, camaraderie and fun. I know we all miss it, but I can promise you we will definitely be back in 2 years. In addition to the COVID pandemic, this year we had to move the GA from the usual fall dates due to the painful events and war in Artsakh, which we'll talk about later, which I know are weighing on all of our minds. Consistent with the bylaws of the AGBU, today's agenda was distributed worldwide to our membership at least 2 months before the meeting in December, and consists of 4 required items, which will be the focus of today's meeting in light of the virtual nature. First, we'll consider our biannual report of the activities of the AGBU for 2018 and 2019, which are the years covered by the GA, which normally would have been held last fall. Consistent with our principles of transparency, the full 60-page plus report of our 2-year activities is freely available to the public on our website, theagbu.org. The second agenda item will be the consideration of AGBU's consolidated financial report for 2018 and 2019, which again, under our principles of transparency, are freely available on our website. Third, we will elect members of the Central Board. And last, we will elect members of the Audit Committee of the AGBU. Also in accordance with our bylaws, our President, Bert Citrakian, the presiding officer of this General Assembly, has designated today's officers and 3 committees. The President has appointed William Nazarian of the United States and Chairman of the AGBU New York YP to act as Secretary of today's Assembly. And under the bylaws, the President has designated 3 committees. The first committee is the Committee of Inspectors, which examines the proxies and verifies the qualifications of the members present and that who are entitled to vote and determines there is a quorum. The Chairman of the Committee of Inspectors is Ara Balikian of the United States and Chairman of our New England District Committee. And the members of the committee are Rupen Kedikian, Chairman of our Buenos Aires chapter, and Alejandro Danielian, board member of the Colegio Nubarian in Montevideo, Uruguay. I'd now like to invite Ara Balikian to deliver the report of the Committee of Inspectors.
Mr. Secretary, we have a total number of 1,650 valid votes present, which includes voting members logged on today and those who have submitted proxies in advance. The Committee of Inspectors, therefore, certifies that there is present a quorum, thus meeting the requirements of the bylaws.
Thank you very much, Ara. The second committee the president has appointed is the Committee of Tellers, which supervises the elections and tallies votes as needed. The chairman of the committee is Avedi Samarkarian of the United States, and dedicated member serving our Western region. And the members of the committee are Hagop Arslanian, a member of our Montreal chapter committee, and Maral Chorbajian, who's the chair of our Melbourne chapter. Finally, the third committee is the Committee of Resolutions, which formulates the resolutions to be submitted for consideration at this General Assembly. The chairman of the committee is Camilio Azuz, a member of the AGBU Strategic Advisory Council and secretary of the AGBU London Trust. And the members of the committee are David Ojakian, chairman of AGBU YP Northern California, and Rafael Balukian, the treasurer of the AGBU Brazil chapter. We'll be back to those committees later in the agenda. Now to begin our program. Our next speaker needs no introduction. This week, we recognize the 19th anniversary of the election of Bert Satrakian as the president of the AGBU. We've known throughout his tenure how lucky we are to have him as our president, for his steadfast commitment to upholding the Armenian heritage and creating the foundation for the prosperity of the Armenian nation. But 2020 was different. The triple crises of COVID, the Beirut blast, and the Gharapagh war and its aftermath shook our nation to its core. And for those of us who were lucky to work with Baird, saw that for him, serving his nation was not a part-time hobby, but instead was part of his very essence and being. Whether in the spring organizing central board members to call all of our communities worldwide and just check on people's health and well-being, to single-handedly raising millions of dollars for the families in Beirut over the summer, to his daily calls and consultations starting in the fall, trying to help address the military and then political crisis in Armenia. In one of the worst years in our nation's history, our president was at his best. I wish we were all together to give him a standing ovation, but we'll give him a little quiet standing ovation here. So I invite our president to address the General Assembly.
Thank you very much, Serko, for your introduction. Dear members, friends, and guests of AGBU, dear fellow board members, we are gathered here today under extraordinary circumstances. For the first time in our history, we are holding a General Assembly online. We are thankful for the technology which has kept us in touch with one another in recent times. We have all gone through the experience of the coronavirus pandemic, which has not spared any country or community and has taken so many lives. In the meanwhile, we do our best to continue celebrating life and praying that our lives will return to normal in the very near future. However, life within the AGBU community has not stopped. We have continued our work of reaching out to people, developing new programs that meet the interests of our youth, and responding to world events, especially those which most impact our people. My fellow board members will elaborate on the financial details as well as other reports of programs and activities from the two-year period 2018-2019. As a highlight, I can share that they were years of great achievement due to the effort and participation of each and every one of you. It was a period of international highs and unified successes, resulting in rapid development of our nation as a whole. It seemed at the time that the world was behind us as a people and that we were finally seeing the progress we have deserved within the community of nations. Unfortunately, after those years of great momentum and progress, 2020 was a painful one for all of us. While the global pandemic did not shake our spirit or our unwavering commitment to benevolent work, it seems almost as though the first half of the year was a mere foreshadowing of the challenges ahead. In August, our Lebanese community faced the impact and consequences of a major explosion at the port of Beirut. It directly hit the Armenian areas of the city where a substantial portion of our community resides. However, in response, our community set a new high standard for civic engagement in Lebanon. Within hours, our AGBU District Committee established a volunteer emergency infrastructure supported by dedicated staff and bolstered by our impressive young scouts. They immediately mobilized a philanthropic response, rebuilding people's homes, already around 400 of them, putting food on their tables, and literally and physically giving their own blood to sustain their fellow citizens. Their work was made possible by the unified efforts of all of you who supported them with swift and vast fundraising measures. It was truly an inspiration to see us work together, much like our founders had envisioned so long ago. Soon after the catastrophe in Beirut, the Armenian nation faced one of its darkest moments in recent times. The war, which impacted all of us and left behind wounds that will take quite some time to heal. On September 27, a devastating attack by Azeri forces, backed by Turkish military assets and intelligence, resulted in the loss of a large portion of our historic lands in Artsakh. Most tragically, it caused the deaths of roughly 5,000 soldiers and more than 10,000 others suffered injuries. They are among the best of our youth. Each one of them was a precious life that was forever altered. Let us please pause for a moment of silence and pay our respects to our heroes. In their memory, to give meaning to their sacrifice, we must unite all of our forces and all of our means to overcome the challenges we face ahead. The future of Armenia is at stake today. If we come together, bring our best to the table, and use our personal strengths to serve each other, then, with hope and faith, we will build a bright and successful future for the Armenian nation. These are the times that define and redefine who we are. Our people have always been resilient. We will survive, as we have for thousands of years, through massacres and persecution, through every kind of upheaval and devastation. Through every challenge, our nation remains alive, vibrant, and proud of its history. As William Saroyan put it, no power has ever been able to destroy us. We are the ones who determine, who ensure the survival and strength of our people. For more than a century, AGBU has been the cornerstone of our global community, committed to humanitarian aid, but above all, to safeguard our national development and integrity. When the fate of the nation is at stake, as it is today, we act as a national organization concerned with ensuring the safety and future of our homeland. That homeland is the foremost guarantee of our existence as a people, the basis for the perpetuation of our faith, our culture, our identity. Through its history, AGBU has always taken bold action in pivotal moments of our national life, far beyond its role of a philanthropic institution. From the days of our founder, Boghos Nubar Pasha, who headed the Armenian national delegation in the various negotiations with the then major European powers in the early part of the 20th century, and which led to the Treaty of Sèvres of October 10, 1920, defending the rights of an independent Armenia at the international conference. He initiated, under the circumstances behind the Soviet Iron Curtain in Armenia, the establishment of a medical center in 1924, under the worst time of communism, and the creation of Nubarashen in 1931, a town presently with a population of more than 12,000 residents. In the mid-1930s, our president, Kalus Gulbenkian, managed a relationship with the Soviet leadership to maintain the AGBU office in Armenia, to assist in the well-being of the population and safeguard of the interests of Holy Echmiadzin. Our executive then in Yerevan in 1936 was killed at the hands of the Soviets, but we persevered. Our president, Arshak Karagosian, under whose leadership AGBU financed the repatriation of Armenians from the Western diaspora in 1946-1947, in the aftermath of the Second World War, at the peak of the Cold War, securing the establishment of statehood status among the Soviet republics, which state became today's independent Armenia. Each one of those moments demanded visionary leadership from our predecessors. Because of their actions, we can say that AGBU has played an unparalleled role in the history and the survival of our nation. In the same token, in the aftermath of the split within the Armenian Church in 1956, President Alex Manukyan stood by Holy Echmiadzin with the belief that the national church must and can survive and prosper only in its homeland. And you all remember the courageous intervention of President Luis Simon during the 1988 Spirak earthquake and the First Karabakh War, lending her hand to the nation. She went beyond the call of duty and led the establishment of the American University of Armenia, educating generations of leaders and becoming one of the nation's most respected institutions. All of this brings us to recognize the urgent needs of today. AGBU's leadership, out of serious concern for the dangers facing our nation, has recently called on all Armenian people to unite and bring their expertise, their engagement, and their formidable will to build the future in the aftermath of the events of the past year. We have called for an independent team of capable experts from Armenia and from the diaspora to come together to form a government and shape our policies for the future. Armenia's parliament, as well as the past and present leaders, should put their partisan interests aside and unite behind such new leadership. First, to restore the trust and confidence of our people themselves, then that of the international community, so that they can reverse the negative impact that this war created to the detriment of Armenia and all Armenians. They must adopt and implement a sound, coordinated set of policies, starting with the development of diplomacy skills to shape the long-term survival and role of Armenia within the context and the realities of the new geopolitical environment. They should further focus on the implementation of objective socio-economic programs, short and long term, which could sustain the infrastructure of the country and its population. All of us together must form a moral and practical leadership that can unite the country and bring us back to prosperity. We need a new, mature, and experienced generation, educated and well-trained in their fields, open to the world, ready to serve and step up and lead our nation into the future. As AGBU, we must do what we can to bring these experts and empower and encourage them to work together, not compete in parallel. We remain faithful to the Armenian Church, which now and in centuries past has served as our main bastion of faith, culture, and survival. We call upon all Armenians to support our national church as an institution which holds our precious spiritual lineage and shines a light on who we are within the community of nations. While being presently challenged by the authorities, maintaining the teachings of our church's history within the curriculum of our public school system in Armenia is a must, as this is in large part the past 2,000-year history of our nation. We remain optimistic about our future. We are confident of the important roles that AGBU can fulfill in the mission of strengthening the core of our nation, which is global, with its homeland and its diaspora. This will require the participation of each and every one of you, as only together can we achieve the national prosperity and stability we profoundly wish to see. On this occasion of the meeting of the AGBU's General Assembly, I also call upon all of our chapters and members to work more closely with the Central Board and the various regional committees. Bring your best ideas and best efforts to create a new wave of innovative programs. Don't wait for the initiatives to come from the top. Explore new initiatives together. We may not agree on every decision or outcome, but we all make our decisions in good faith, aiming to serve the good of our people. We should give our community leaders and members the benefit of the doubt, look upon each other with sympathy and appreciation, and always remember that our unity is our strength. We are proud that AGBU has remained faithful to its history of service and holds a high level of respect and trust across our communities worldwide. This was a trust earned over a century of programs and support, adapting to the needs of our people. Today is no different. We will step up, we will innovate, and we will create a future of which we can all be proud. We can work hand in hand to heal the Armenian nation. Again, I thank you all for your continued support and commitment to our great organization. You make AGBU the respected institution that it is today, leaving you with the hope that we'll see you all soon, personally soon. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Arda Haratunian, a proud member of AGBU Central Board. This video we just saw highlights how much we accomplished by all coming together for humanitarian relief in Armenia and Artsakh. What it does not show are all the individual and collective efforts behind the scenes during the war itself. Before I go into the tremendous humanitarian work we've done as an organization, thanks to individuals like you from across the globe working together, please allow me to formally direct you to the 2018-2019 activities report, which, as Sarkis mentioned, is conveniently found in our biennial report online at agbu.org or agbug.org. for your reference. I strongly encourage you to take a few moments to read this report and our entire biennial report. As you'll read, 2018 and 2019 were marked by significant growth and expansion, especially in the area of socioeconomic programming in Armenia and Artsakh, and cultural and educational programming in the diaspora. Simply put, AGBU continued to focus on nation building and on sharing our rich Armenian culture with the world. We collaborated with entities that speak to AGBU's breadth of relationships and our enormous credibility globally. A few examples: WCIT, which is the World Congress for Information Technology, which positioned Armenia as an emerging global technology hub. Francophonie, which brought dozens of heads of states to Armenia to promote French language and cultural diversity, but also peace, democracy, and human rights. And of course, our collaboration with the Metropolitan Museum of Art on the glorious Armenia exhibition. At the same time, and these are just a few of the other examples among many, we saw our AGBU Performing Arts Department bringing Armenian performance art to major cities in Asia. We saw our London community install a khachkar at the Canterbury Cathedral, and even saw an Armenian village erected in the heart of Paris at the Pantheon. I also want to point out that during 2018 and 19, we made substantial investments in our offices. While this is a work in progress, we have come a long way organizationally and structurally. I think you'll agree that these investments were necessary and have given our organization an even stronger foundation on which to build, and an even stronger foundation to support our incredible network of volunteers across the globe. In Armenia and Artsakh, our efforts supporting both high-tech collaborations and agricultural ones were paying off. Thanks to our virtual bridge program, we connected the country's booming tech sector with contacts in Silicon Valley. We invested in providing seed loans to farmers in Artsakh, and we developed adult education programming for learners in Stepanakert. Obviously, the war impacted these efforts, but we will not be deterred. Just one example of the resilience of Armenians, and of course the commitment and persistence of AGBU, is our efforts in women's empowerment. During this period, we launched and expanded our AGBU Women Entrepreneurs Program. We is based on the premise that women, while at the heart of our homes and our communities, are often overlooked as a critical part of Armenia's economic potential. So AGBU decided to make it a priority to help women with small businesses and business ideas. The response was truly inspiring. So based on WE's success, we launched AGBU Empower Her in 2020, which expanded our work with the women of Armenia and Artsakh to include women coders and change makers, focusing on developing employable technology skills and stronger civic engagement. These build on AGBU's successful hygiene centers, which offer support for pregnant women and family in the marzes. One remarkable point I have to raise here that speaks to how strong Armenia's women are is that despite everything, COVID and a devastating war, despite everything working against our women in 2020, one thing was consistent. The women of Armenia are strong and as resilient as any of us. They maintained their resolve during the Artsakh war, they reworked their businesses during COVID lockdown, and they will continue to be a focus of major investment for us at AGBU. So I end my report on 2018 and 2019 by reflecting on 2020. Our communities, all of you, met the challenges of a year like no other, with resilience in delivering humanitarian aid and support wherever it was needed. This is so reflective of AGBU's early years. As you know, our founders created AGBU to help Armenians under Ottoman rule thrive by offering them agricultural tools and education as a way to survive and propel themselves forward. In a few short years, they quickly had to shift to humanitarian work. So familiar to what we see today. I'm proud and honored to say at AGBU, we work quickly, we work smart, and we work together. In unity is strength. I leave you now with a personal testimonial from Lebanon. You'll hear directly from just one of the many individuals who benefited from our collective work. Thank you.
نحن وقت الانفجار أنا وابني كنا بالبيت. الحمد لله ما صار شيء لابني لإلي الحمد لله.
ونزل السقف كله سوا واجوا ال AGBU قالوا لنا انه نحن بدنا نتكفل بكل شيء. انا كنت صفر وتحت الصفر، بتطلع وببكي انه كيف انا نظبط هذا البيت، انه كل واحد يقول لي بكره بيجوا، قلت له ما حدا عم يجي، بس عم بأيدوا يفلوا.
ظبطوا له التوتيا، طرشوا له البيت، دهنوا له البواب.
انا كنت نايم هون على التخت على الكنبايه بلا سقف. من وقتها على طول بتذكر هيدا المشهد، انه كيف كان وانا كيف نمت وكيف صار هلا. انا عم حس حالي قاعد بفيلا هلا مش ببيت.
هيدا بيت أهلي، أنا خلقان هون وربيانين هون. لما صار الانفجار هن ال AGBU يعني قالوا لي إنه هن رح يتكفلوا بإعادة تظبيط البيت. الشبابيك كلهم هن عملوها، كان في عندي كثير دمج كهرباء وأساطر المي، كل شيء هن عم بيعملوا يعني أبواب الخشب، وأكيد بالآخر رح يترشوا البيت كمان. ميرسي كتير كبير لل AGBU لأنه عن جد عم بيعملوا شغل كتير ضخم، وأكيد يعني هن قدها وقدود، ما بنحب نستسلم نهائياً.
همتكم كتير أثرت فينا، وميرسي كتير.
رح نضل كلهم راجعين، كلهم رح يرجعوا، كلهم رح يسكنوا.
Hello again. When I watch testimonials like these, it really brings me pride as the president of this organization. Normally, during our General Assembly meetings, we allow ourselves some time to recognize the years of service of certain members and committees. While in this virtual setting, we cannot hold the same ceremony, I would like to take the opportunity to thank a few committees and groups who really set an example of the AGBU spirit, especially in the past year. First, I pay a special tribute to the chairman of the Lebanese District Committee, Mr. Gerard Tufengja. You can all give him a round of applause. Also, the entire AGBU Lebanon community, particularly the volunteers who came together in 2020. The selfless and swift actions taken by this group ensured that our Armenian community, as well as the greater Lebanese community, had sustenance, emergency care, and shelter in the early days of the blast. But what followed was truly heroic. As the adrenaline faded, the work did not. The escalated efforts to focus on rebuilding homes and offering psychosocial support for children and families has made an incredible impact on so many levels. Drawing from the impressive fundraising and moral support offered by the greater AGBU worldwide family, the Lebanon Committee really delivered and continues to do so. Thank you. Next, I would like to take a moment to thank an international body of AGBU that is particularly dear to me, our AGBU Scouts. From California to Armenia, Lebanon to Buenos Aires, Montreal to Montevideo, our dynamic troops offered meals to first responders, food packages to those in need, hosted local blood drives, cleaned the streets after the Lebanon blast, collected and delivered supplies to displaced families from Arzakh and more. And as a former Scout leader, I know these examples are somehow and somewhat of a normal activity for our scouts. But in a year where each of us faced unimaginable personal and global dangers and fears, their actions and commitment to service must be recognized. We are lucky to have them wear the badge of AGBU and represent us so well. Finally, I note the incredible contribution of our young professionals. While the world became paralyzed seemingly overnight, our YPs quickly launched a digital series of activities to offer much needed connection amongst peers. This evolved to more significant and important discussions and forums tackling difficult issues: race, discrimination, politics. During the Artsakh War, YPs from Europe traveled to the region, bringing with them their contacts and broad-reaching professional networks with the aim of amplifying our voice when we needed it the most. Through and through, the YPs have been innovative in their approaches in the past year. In looking back at this past year, at their work, I feel confident that our future is in good hands. I leave you now with this very same sentiment delivered by the voices of the YPs themselves, produced during our most vulnerable days last November. Thank you.
I should like to see any power of the world destroy this race.
This small tribe of unimportant people,
whose wars have all been fought and lost,
Whose structure have been crumbled.
Whose literature is unread.
Music is unheard.
And prayers are no more answered.
And prayers no more answered.
Et dont les prières ne sont plus exaucées.
Die Gebete werden nicht gehört.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Destroy Armenia.
Zerstört Armenien.
Destroy Armenia.
See if you can do it.
See if you can do it.
See if you can do it.
Voyez si vous pouvez le faire.
Send them into the desert without bread or water.
Destroy their homes and churches.
Then see if they will not laugh.
If they will not laugh,
sing.
Singen.
And pray again.
And pray again.
Und beten werden.
And pray again.
For when two of them meet.
Pues cuando dos se encuentren.
For when two of them meet.
Anywhere in the world.
See if they will not create a new Armenia.
See if they will not create a new Armenia.
See if they will not create a new Armenia.
A new Armenia.
A new Armenia.
Neues Armenien.
Une nouvelle Arménie.
Nur Hayastan.
Una nueva Armenia.
A new Armenia.
A new Armenia.
A new Armenia.
How poignant was that video? I am Lena Sarkisian, a member of the Central Board of AGBU. So many of the faces you saw in this video are individuals who have participated in different educational programs of AGBU, whether it be camps, schools, internship programs, and so many more. You can hear through each voice the connection our young adults feel to their Armenianness. At AGBU, we define Armenianness not simply by preservation, but one of discovery and creation. We are not simply part of a past that we need to preserve, but we are also about a thriving culture. It's about rendering our Armenian experiences into one of living, vibrancy, and personal growth. And education is one of the means, one of the founding pillars of AGBU. As the Armenian reality has evolved over the decades, so has the focus of the educational initiatives. One of the characteristics of AGBU, which has drawn me to this organization, is its responsiveness to continuously evolving conditions. And remember, boards, as stewards of a nonprofit, have to always balance the present with the future. In our current reality, our goal in the education department is to develop engaged global Armenians, individuals who will not only feel part of an Armenian collective, but will also act on it. That is, contribute by participating in initiatives regarding Armenia, the diaspora, and the wider world. Individuals like you who are engaged in living and in being Armenian. Personal prosperity, identity, engagement, and connectivity are the fundamentals that drive our decision-making. To achieve this mission, we have a wide variety of initiatives ranging from our long-standing programs like scholarship schools, camps, to new experiential activities and e-learning tools, and much more. In Armenia alone, we provide support to those studying at the Madenataran, AUA, French University, Yerevan State. In AUA, AGBU has been a founding member and an engaged supporter, an educational institution that introduced new standards of excellence and is now introducing 21st century pedagogy. In 2018, we saw the fruits of our labor reach new heights. The Smithsonian Institute came to us to help educate their followers through ebooks. Same for the Metropolitan Museum, with whom we produced web talks and hosted educational activities. The same pattern was seen over and over in locations around the world. In Montreal, for example, the Quebec Chess Federation sought to teach chess via AGBU's Armenian Virtual College, better known as ABC. In bringing Armenian education and resources to both Armenians and non-Armenians, we reached a long-desired goal to expand our reach to new audiences. In 2019, ABC, which is our inaugural initiative in educational technology, celebrated a major milestone, its 10th anniversary. Through AVC, we have consistently provided access to virtual Armenian experiences and reached individuals of various backgrounds, ranging from our well-known and engaged communities to new diasporas all over the world. What did AVC do to celebrate? It enhanced its platform and course offerings. And as a result, we as an organization were able to rely on AVC for so much more when the world changed in 2020. To demonstrate what I mean, here's a little clip about AVC. As you saw, ABC offers so many possibilities. Though we are here to reflect on 2018 and 2019, as my colleagues have mentioned, 2020 was laden with numerous redefining moments. And as such, I must reflect on how it unleashed tremendous potential and impact. Our day schools, from Beirut to Montreal to California to Argentina and Australia, all have been adapting to technological and pedagogical developments. And the pandemic put them to the test. All members of the school communities worked without respite, drawing energy from each other, and oftentimes leveraged the network of educators and resources among the AGBU family to get through the initial months of the pandemic. All the e-tools that AGBU has been developing over the recent past were put to full use during the pandemic. Even Camp Nubar went virtual. I am sure you have heard the saying, preserve the best and reinvent the rest. At AGBU, preserving the best is not a program or an activity, but a mindset, one of always being forward-thinking and seeking excellence. So, when you think of AGBU in education, think of its responsiveness to the challenges of the different generations since 1906. From skill building of agrarian communities in Eastern Anatolia, to vocational training of the genocide survivors in the Middle East, to the development of schools and community centers all over the world, and now to the powering up of technological tools to develop global Armenian citizens who can access Armenian experiences from many points of entry. Educational experiences that provide personal growth, are meaningful, enjoyable, and transformative. We will continue developing new projects for different groups, different interests, and different communities. All I can say is there is so much more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena, for that tremendous overview of our educational activities. Now that concludes the portion of the Assembly covering our programs, and we'll now turn to the financial reports and portion of the Assembly. It's my pleasure to first introduce Arno Atamian, an AGBU board member and treasurer of the AGBU London Trust, to present the AGBU's audit report.
Morning, everyone, afternoon, evening. A conference call was held on February 17, 2021 with AGBU Central Board Independent Accountants, Friedman LLP, represented by Sarah Avery, CPA, and attended by Sarkis Jebejan as Audit Committee Chair and Nazar Tejejan as Finance Committee Chair. Also participating in the call were Mark Gitlin, AGBU Chief Financial Officer, Vahe Victor Kalijian, AGBU Director of Finance, and Victoria Pavlish, AGBU Controller. They reviewed the financial reports, which consist of the consolidated financial statements of AGBU and the subsidiaries, branches, district, chapters, and school as of December 31st, 2019 and 2018, respectively. These consolidated financial statements include the consolidated statements of financial position and consolidated statements of activities. In their opinion, these financial reports referred to in the fourth paragraph present fairly the financial position of the Armenian General Benevolent Union and subsidiaries as of December 31st, 2019 and 2018, and the results of its operation and changes in net assets for the year span ended. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Arno. I'd now like to introduce Nazareth Festukcan, Treasurer of the AGBU Central Board, to present the biennial financial report.
Thank you, Sarkis. The financial report for 2018 and 2019 have been provided in advance of this meeting. The financial reports consist of the consolidated financial of AGBU Delaware Corporation and the subsidiaries, branches, district, chapters, and schools for the years ended December 31, 2019 and 2018. As shown on the consolidated statement of financial position at the end of 2019, AGBU's worldwide total assets were up slightly from 2018. Note that these figures are based on basic accounting methodologies where all assets are valued on a cost basis. It is our view, for instance, that our real estate holding, based on our evaluations, amount to over 500 million as compared to the reported book value of 99 million. Based on the above, total net assets reported on December 31, 2019 were 373 million, based on a book value consisting of endowment assets of 263 million, special project assets of 62 million, and general purpose assets of 47 million. This compares to total net assets of December 31, 2018 of 373 million, consisting of endowment assets of 260 million, special project assets of 65 million, and general purpose assets of 48 million. Total portfolio investments, current and long-term, as of December 31, 2019, were 238 million recorded at cost with a fair market value of 267 million. The consolidated statements of activities shows total public support and revenue in 2019 was 55 million, an increase of 5% or 2 million from 2018. Total programs and administrative expenses were 56 million in 2019, an increase of 13% or 7 million from 2018. Therefore, the change in net assets from operation in 2019 was effectively nil, compared to 4 million in 2018. Revenue from contribution was 27 million in 2019, a decrease of 1 million compared to 2018. Income from investment was 11 million, an increase of 4 million from 2018. The average net investment return of worldwide portfolio for 2019 was 13.7% compared to the previous year's loss of 5.7%. In 2019, expenses for AGBU program were 50 million compared to 44 million in 2018. Of the amounts allocated in 2019 and 2018, over 16 million was exclusively allocated to Armenia and Artsakh programs and projects. Within program expenses in 2019, 27 million was provided to educational programs. AGBU assisted over 15 Armenian educational institutions and programs around the world, which included over 500 students who received scholarship grants. Administrative expenses related to Central Board was 5 million in 2019, flat to 2018, representing 8.7% and 9.7% of our total revenue. Fundraising expenses were 1.2 million in 2019 and 0.8 million in 2018, 2.2% and 1.5% of total revenue respectively. Overall, the global consolidated revenue of AGBU worldwide was 55 million in 2019 and 53 million in 2018, and our global consolidated expenses were 56 million in 2019 and 42 million in 2018. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazareth. In accordance with our bylaws, there being no objections, accordingly, our first two agenda items, the financial report and the activities report, are now unanimously approved. I'm now happy to invite Vartkis Kanadjian, member of the AGBU Central Board, to deliver our nominating committee report as chairman of that committee, and he served along with Arno Atamian and Yervant Demirjan as committee members. Vartkis.
Thank you, Sarkis. In light of the continuous commitment and involvement of the incumbent members whose terms expired and their many years of active engagement and contribution to the development and promotion of the organization, the nominating committee invited them to serve for another third term. Furthermore, the committee did not receive any other recommendations for board membership. Therefore, the nominating committee is pleased to announce that the following incumbent members, Aris Atamian, Eric Israelian, Nazaret Festekjian, Vahe Gavrash, Nadia Gorzunyan, Arda Harutunyan, Sarkis Cebeciyan, Levon Nazaryan, Berj Setrakian, Yervant Zoryan, and Vasken Yakubian are hereby elected to serve for another term. The nominating committee also invited the incumbent members of the audit committee to continue serving for another term. Again, having not received any recommendations by AGBU membership, the nominating committee is pleased to announce the incumbent audit committee members, Gerard Misk, Alin Khachadurian, and Aram Setyan, have agreed to continue serving for another term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vartkes. I'd now like to introduce Avadis Markarian, the chairman of the Committee of Tellers, to deliver their report. I think maybe since we're having a technical difficulty with the audio, maybe I'll read the report. As there have been no other candidates, as there have been no other candidates recommended by AGBU membership, the Committee of Tellers approves the recommendation of the nominating committee, and thus the incumbent board members and audit committee members will now be serving for another term. The Committee of Tellers would like to congratulate and thank these dedicated individuals for their valuable service to the organization. It's now my pleasure to introduce Yervant Zoryan, a member of the AGBU board and really the inspiration and leader of ABC, to moderate a Q&A session. Yervant?
Thank you, Sarkis. At this point of time, typically we interact with our members. We get their questions in the face-to-face mode. So today we did similarly. We requested the questions in advance through our platform, and we received several questions from our members. We'll be very happy to respond to them. And reflecting the nature of our global organization, those questions came from different parts of the world. So the first question that will be addressed today came from Australia. The question is, what is AGBU's plan for Artsakh relief and work? So I'd like to invite Annie Manoukian, my fellow board member, to respond to the question. Annie, please.
So while the aggression against Armenians in Artsakh took us all by surprise, AGBU's organizational structure, know-how, and network allowed us to react as needed. We had a large effort in strategic communications and PR in effect within days of the war, and within 1 week, a unified fundraising effort, as you all know. As you saw from the video earlier today, AGBU, our donors and volunteers, worked to help efforts in medical assistance, humanitarian aid, and even in informational technology. In the short months since the war, we have been committed to the urgent emergency humanitarian needs, but to be honest, it has had its challenges. The information is oftentimes conflicting on the ground and varies day to day, but our team in Armenia has been persistent in working through this. We adopted a short-term strategy in the first few months to help those who are still in Artsakh, as well as those who fled to Armenia. In Artsakh, we're committed to providing for families in Stepanakert with an initial focus on those who had fled from their homes from Shushi in those last hours of the war. In Armenia, we have harnessed our position as a key partner with entities like the EU and others who wish to contribute humanitarian efforts in country. And as such, we've been delivering assistance to families settled in various marzes throughout Armenia. This approach has allowed us to spread our work as well as spread the incoming support in a strategic manner. During the war, the Central Board and the Executive Committee of the Board met regularly and deliberately to understand and try to offer help in many capacities. Early on, it was clear that we would need to start focusing on immediate short-term aid while at the same time developing our mid and long-term projects. The short-term emergency response is something that sadly we have become experts at managing. The mid and long-term are a bit more complex. We are currently still in an assessment period, not only looking to see how we can contribute, but also we are communicating with our other Armenian and non-Armenian NGOs and institutions, as well as the government agencies in Armenia and Artsakh to understand the work being done by key parties. In this instance, we cannot afford duplication of of efforts or inefficiencies amongst organizations or even within ourselves as AGBU. The current political landscape in Armenia is uncertain, and some of our plans may take time, but our commitment remains steadfast. This is why we've established a new department in our AGBU Armenia office, one that is focused on humanitarian relief and volunteer engagement. The goal of this department is to work with the board in determining our big picture plan, but also identifying projects to engage our AGBU communities. It is critical that we all contribute together. We ask that every one of you, your committees, your schools, your YP groups, work through this department and with our managing director, Anita Ansarian, rather than adopting individual projects. We will be more impactful if we work in the same direction. It is our hope that this will be the groundwork not only for Artsakh relief, but for long-term volunteer opportunities in Armenia. Finally, I want to note that while this is outside the scope of humanitarian work, AGBU recognized very early on that as Armenians, we were way in over our heads with the war on many levels. We were faced with a well-orchestrated and well-financed media campaign of misinformation and false narratives. We realized that we were lacking sufficient scholarly output on the historical, geopolitical, and cultural life of Artsakh and its people. As a response, we launched the Artsakh Research Grant to promote scholarly work to be published in mainstream media outlets. We have received dozens of applications so far, and we look forward to continued work in this realm. Thank you, Yervan.
Thank you, Annie. Such a wealth of activities and very prompt. Thank you, Annie, for sharing them with us. Now I'll move to the second question. The second question came from Los Angeles. It states the following. AGBU committed 5 million matching donation to Artsakh Relief, yet we constantly hear that the organization needs money and we should be contributing to the Central Board funds. Now, how was the organization about to contribute these funds if we say we are in need of funds ourselves? A valid question. I'd like to invite Haig Arian, my fellow board member, to address the question. Haig.
Thank you, Yervant, and thank you to our Los Angeles colleagues who asked this question. As you've heard from my colleagues who've already presented today, there are multiple programs throughout the world that AGBU supports and AGBU organizes. The significant budgetary demands on AGBU come from this large global network of schools, of camps, economic initiatives, cultural programs, numerous projects, particularly now in Armenia. So these annual costs, in addition to the costs of running the organization, are very significant. As you heard in Nazareth's budget report, where the annual budget exceeded $50 million. So therefore, we're dependent on the annually consistent generosity of donors, in addition to the investment portfolio distributions, which in some years may have a positive contribution, and in some years, the markets may not cooperate. So meeting those needs is very much dependent upon the consistent generosity of our members and supporters. The emergency relief required by the war, it was unexpected, and the global fundraising effort, as we all recall, was unprecedented. AGBU could not and would not remain silent, and we felt that a matching initiative was the most impactful way to get an immediate response and funds to support our brethren in Artsakh and in Armenia with humanitarian relief. We decided to use these funds from our working capital account, which are of course limited. Our community responded with such passion and appreciation that this invitation to have their donations match up to $5 million was fully exhausted in just 4 days. So we knew that this extraordinary expense would strain our annual operating budget, but again, we would not sit idle. And although we modestly benefited from continued positive portfolio returns in the past year, the events of the past year increased the need for generosity from our donors and the expansion, of course, of our donor base. So I would encourage all the members and I would encourage our donors to look to the Opportunity Fund, which you hear quite a bit about. The AGBU Opportunity Fund allows the organization to operate with particular focus in the coming years, which will allow us to deliver on our global obligations with a lot of organizational stability. The Opportunity Fund goes towards the global operations of AGBU and allows the flexibility that we had and that we showed during the crisis in the Artsakh war? So it's a very good question. It's one that we hear quite a bit from members of the Armenian community globally. So I'm glad that the membership asked this question so we can all be very aware of it ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Haik. Very important message from your end. We need to remember this. Thanks a lot for sharing it with us. The next question will be a question that came from London, actually. As you know, our organization globally keeps expanding as the Armenians around the world become more and more global. The question from London is the following. How are we engaging the new diasporas, especially in Europe? And I'd like to invite our European fellow member of the board, Nadia Korzunian, to respond to that question. Nadia, please.
Okay, thank you for the question. So obviously in the diaspora, youth is, you have two kinds of targets for expanding our fellows. The youth already aware of the stakes related to Armenia, but not yet registered in any structure. And the other side, the Armenian youth, far from its roots. In both cases, in order to attract the new diasporas and encourage their involvement, we have to come to realize that we need a diverse approach. Our offer must be based on the identification of the expectations, and we must shape programs that meet them. We will build off of our organic growth that we see naturally with programs like AVC and our YP network. Our goal is to create a benefit to engage locally and or to engage with the homeland in a tangible manner by building upon our outreach and communication strategies. For those who want to engage locally, for example, yes. We reinforced the Goris Leadership Training Program since 2015, which aims both to strengthen the leadership of our young Armenians in Europe and above all, to put their experience or potential in the service of Armenia. As an example, they put their potential through mentoring for women entrepreneurs of the AGBU Armenia WE program. Before the pandemic, we started working with new communities like those in Poland and Ukraine, and we are confident that we'll be able to increase our relationship. Furthermore, the Armenia office, led by Pascal Yakubian, has worked on Russia diaspora outreach efforts. So the goal now for all of us is to multiply the opportunities to bring them together, both digitally and physically. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Nadia. We appreciate your response and our continuous effort in this respect. Given the time, we'll not take any more questions today. However, if there are questions that were submitted, we'll be responding to them in due time. And I'd like to invite back Sarkis to the podium if possible.
Thanks, Yervant. As our final item of business today, I'd like to introduce Camilo Azuz, the chairman of the Committee of Resolutions, to present the final resolutions of this 91st General Assembly. Camilo.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's an honor for me to be chairing the Resolutions Committee today, and I'm glad to be connected with all of you from London. So on the behalf of our global members, I can say that we, the members attending the 91st General Assembly of the Armenian General Benevolent Union, held on this day, Saturday, February 27th, 2021, and after reviewing the Financial and Activities Report for the years 2018 and 2019, submitted by the Central Board of Directors, resolved the following. We recognize with satisfaction the successful achievements of the Union during the 2 years and share its serious concerns about the devastating impact of the many tragic events of 2020 that have left the world, and particularly our nation, facing enormous challenges. The Assembly affirms the Union's commitment and determination to actively participate, promote, and facilitate the global initiatives for the development and prosperity of the Armenian nation, true to its unshaken vision of a vibrant homeland and an engaged diaspora. The General Assembly further affirms its determination to carry on its mission of benevolence and to safeguard our national development and integrity, with the belief that as a people, we have the skills, talents, commitment, and the tools to tackle these challenges, to improve our fortunes, and fortify our defenses. The Assembly pays homage to the thousands of heroes who lost their lives and those who were injured in defense of our homeland and Artsakh in face of the recent aggression perpetrated by Azerbaijan. It extends its condolences to the families who have lost loved ones to the war and wish a quick recovery to the injured heroes of the war. In their memory, and to give meaning to their sacrifice, we commit to unite all our forces and all our means to overcome the challenges our nation faces ahead. The Assembly recognizes with deep appreciation and gratitude the founders of the General Union, led by President Boros Noubar and his successors, for their brilliant vision and bold initiatives during pivotal moments in the history of our nation, and all past and present chairmen of district and chapter committees and the dedicated membership who have contributed to the strong standing which AGBU has today and the extraordinary trust it enjoys among the Armenians and throughout the societies at large. The Assembly affirms AGBU's historic ties with and its unwavering support to the Armenian Church, the Holy See of Echmiadzin, and His Holiness Karakian II, Catholicos and Patriarch of all Armenians, and further remains committed to supporting the Church's efforts to address the spiritual needs of the people, as well as its historic role in preserving and enriching our national heritage. In the same spirit, the General Assembly salutes the leadership of the Armenian Apostolic and Catholic Catholicosat of Cilicia and the hierarchical sees of the Armenian Apostolic Patriarchate of Jerusalem and Constantinople, and the leadership of the Armenian Evangelical Churches. The Assembly recognizes that the fate of our nation is at stake today. To preserve the safety and future of our homeland, the foremost guarantee of the perpetuation of our faith, our culture, and our identity calls on our people in Armenia, the government, the armed forces, and all political factions to abstain from any action that may cause internal strife and endanger the fragile stability in our homeland, to put their partisan interests aside, engage in a constructive dialogue to address the many challenges that our country and the nation are facing in the aftermath of the war. The Assembly notes with appreciation AGBU President Ber Setrakian's leadership of limitless devotion, along with the members of the Central Board of Directors for their continuous commitment and vision to lead the Union in the pursuit of its mission and goals in the best interest of the Armenian people under all circumstances. The Assembly further congratulates the districts and chapters who collaborated with the many humanitarian initiatives and fundraising efforts led by the Central Board to provide help to our worldwide communities and our people in Armenia and Artsakh that were in distress. It affirms that their performance has been aligned with the vision and the ambitious platform the organization has set for itself regarding our nation's standing in the world, our responsibilities as global citizens toward our people, our homeland, our heritage and values, and our advocacy for humanistic causes. The Assembly expresses its gratitude to all the benefactors, donors, friends, and supporters of the Union, without whose generosity, trust, and confidence the Union would not be able to fulfill the pursuit of all its missions. The Assembly congratulates the elected members of the Central Board, extends its appreciation to the delegated members and volunteers, and our worldwide staff. None of our global achievements could have been made possible without their support, commitment, and encouragement. Finally, we express our thanks to all the organizers of the General Assembly, the professionals providing simultaneous translation in Armenian, French, and Spanish, and in particular to the teams of the AGBU offices led by our dear Managing Director, Anita Ansarian, and the Armenian Virtual College under leadership and guidance of Central Board member Yervant Zoryan, that we thank again, whose expertise, collaboration, and support contributed to the success of AGBU's 91st General Assembly. Dear friends, I thank you all, and we shall meet again soon in unity, and connected we remain until then. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilio. Well, speaking for myself, I can say our 91st General Assembly and our first virtual General Assembly was a huge success. I'd really like to echo Camilio's point, a big thank you to the AVC team, which made this global event with participants in multiple countries, multiple continents, really a huge success. And I'll say it's an example of when you invest in the best and brightest, you get a big return. With that, our 91st General Assembly is officially concluded. We, on behalf of the Central Board and all of our leadership, we send you, your families, and our entire community best wishes and hope to see you all in person in 2 years for number 92. Thank you.